Hey everybody, welcome to Kent with Bent 117, Strange New Kents. First of
hmm
all, apologies to Anson Mount for replacing your face with Kent Hovind's face. You have a much better face than Kent Hovind, but I I had it's a show about Kent. I had to put him front and center. So, yeah. Bent, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing pretty well. So we got a few things to do before we actually get into this, which includes reading a few super chats as well as a few messages that came in on your fundraiser before, sorry, they came in slightly before I think the last show ended, but like after I was able to really get them and read them. So let's read a couple of those. Scott Duke sent $5 6 days ago and said, Benthoven, like Dapper Dinosaur, is a bright spot in my week. I just wish I could give more. Well, thank you very much, Scott Duke.
Thank you.
And for $20, Jonathan G. Patterson, number go up and cargo burr. Well, let's hope the
Yes,
cargo burr, because currently it is still not going burr.
it is still in the shop.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been over 3 weeks, and I don't know
very,
how long it's going to be.
very frustrating. The old transmission has been taken out, right? Now they're just waiting for the new
Uh,
transmission.
I think they were working on that a few days ago, but I
Okay.
never got a confirmation.
All right. So we have a few super chats to read. Pelagic Tuna Cat says sauropods sound, or sorry, Pelagic Tuna Cat sauropods sound like geckos. B2022 as a whole name. For £20, said recently rediscovered a Finnish band that plays metal for kids and dresses as dinos. But they're
Mhm.
clear their guitarist is a dragon, not a dino. Yes, Finland's answer to the Teletubbies knows what a dinosaur is better than Kent, which is awesome. Thank you very much,
So,
Pelagic Tuna Cat. Sauropods sound like geckos. B2022. Savage Chicxulub, the Coelophysis Slayer Cobra. You guys. Says geologic formations are composed of units called members. Similarly, units called members within a bag comprise an AIG. We'll take a drink for that one. That's clever. And Royland Hutchins for $2 says, husband is having fun rendering for you. Oh, good. Yeah, that reminds me. So, Royland Hutchins, apparently their husband, I don't. Look, the names on Sheepit are just Royland, so like, I don't know. Anyway, has added 3 separate instances of RTX 3080s to my rendering on Sheepit, which has more than doubled my Sheepit capacity, and has moved me from being like in, I think, like 32nd place among all 6,000 or so renderers on Sheepit to ninth place as of today.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So thank
That's
you
really
very
cool.
much. Let's see. Now there are a couple other things. One is to say, for those of you who have early access to my videos, which is a fair bit of you, you'll notice that I've released 2 early access videos with different avatars. The first one being my new avatar, which I'm calling Cyber Dapper, which has like lightning going all over the place and like the crazy warp engine from Event Horizon going, the Event Horizon drive or whatever. It's very cool, I think, right? Then the next one is my Dapper Zord, set in like the Temple to Darwin that obviously all of us evolutionists worship in. And then the one I'm doing that I've already finished the animation on for today is using just my standard avatar. But what this means is, if we could get to feathers today, this will, I think, will be the first season, or sorry, series in which not only does every video have a different avatar, but they're all animated, and it has exhausted my list of currently available avatars. So, what I'm saying is, feel free to help us get there. We only need about $197 to come in. Now, we have a few more things coming in. Hiveside, who has been a member for 6 months and is at the amulet level, says, bzz, goes the bumblebee. 6 months, whoop, whoop. Thank you very much, Hiveside. It's very, I really appreciate the support. Now, a star you, sorry, I had a little cough. I should get a cough button. A star you for $4.99 says, AIG wishes they were sessile tunicates, but alas, they cannot escape their ancestry. They are pelagic tunicates, and a whole package of them. Fear vegan T-Rex monger says AIG's fake science journal wishes it was PNAS. Yes, they do. And that was So Fearmonger has been a member for 9 months and is at the tetrapod level. All right. So I think we are ready to go into the rules, because we have rules, if you can believe it.
The drinking game.
Yes. So also, the number has gone up on the what do you call it? The GoFundMe. So we'll take a drink for that real quick. Which actually means that we are now at 2 drinks, and I don't think I've recorded either. No, I recorded one of them. Okay. Good. All right, so we will take a drink, as you've already seen, anytime anyone super chats or membership milestone chats anything to the effect that AIG are a bag of dicks. Now, you can't just say that ARG are a bag of dicks, because YouTube will catch that, and they will censor it. Boo, YouTube. I mean, yay, YouTube, because, you know, that's how we're all here together, but whatever. So you have to be a little clever. But yeah, we'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink whenever the number on the fundraiser goes up that I notice, because there's no way to just automatically update it. So just want to make sure that that wasn't an additional... Yeah, it was $5 anonymous with no message. Now, we will also take a drink if Kent Hovind says something that's so stupid we just kind of have to. Or if Kent Hovind gets something right, actually factually correct. If he does that, we'll take a drink for it. If Kent Hovind tells a joke that doesn't land, or a story that didn't happen, for instance, if he confuses an argument that he won with his shampoo bottle with an argument he had with a hypothetical Berkeley professor on an airplane, for some reason, we'll take a drink for that. We'll also take a drink anytime Kent Hovind mentions the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the NSDAP, if you're into acronyms. If you don't know what that is, feel free to look it up. Now, that also includes mentions of prominent members or leadership of that political movement, as well as, some of their more infamous activities in the first half of the 20th century, shall we say. Yeah, it's also called the Godwin's Law drink trigger, because, well, yeah. Now, we'll also take a drink if Kent Hovind cites a source, and when we check the source, it not only fails to support his points, it directly contradicts them. We call that Trojan source. Now, this is mostly a thing for Randy Galuza, but hey, it's now a permanent thing. We'll also take a drink if either Bent or I can successfully predict what Kent is going to say when it's not very clear. Now, there are a few other ways. One is if Godzilla or Mothra come by audibly, we'll take a drink for them, but also if anyone super chats or membership milestone chats anything that includes a Mothra, a Godzilla, or a King Ghidorah emoji, which are only for channel members, we will also take a drink for that. Now, we have a few more things that have come in. Fits of Rage, who's been a member for 1 month, says, and is at the tetrapod level, says, AIG is a syndicate of 1920s private detectives. Nice. Chris McDaniel, who's been a member for 8 months, says, AIG are a pocket full of Richards. Also nice. Take a drink for that, too. And Mongoose, King of the Wastelands, which I think... apparently you've super chatted on this channel before, but I don't recognize the name. Says, for $2, AIG is an attaché of invigorated groinlings. Amazing. And then, let's see. Goopdo3 says, for $2, Among Us, but then there is a thing at the end of it. What is...
I don't know what that symbol is.
Oh, that's a... Oh, that's the Deseret letter gay. Because Deseret is an alphabet that exists, kind of. That's actually pretty funny. But it also kind of looks like the Among Us character. So, for those of you who might not know, basically some Mormons tried to come up with a new alphabet for English, which is not the worst idea because, well, quite frankly, the Latin alphabet sucks for English. But of course it didn't catch on. But yeah, apparently one of the letters was called gay, which is kind of funny. All right, Bent, have I missed any of the drink triggers?
Did you mention gift channel memberships?
Oh, I did not. Yes. If anyone gifts memberships to the channel, those will also cause us to drink once for each membership that is gifted, up to about 30 or so. At that point, we're just going to finish the drink, get a new drink, increase the drink counter, and be done with it. So that's actually the quickest way to get me just completely hammered, I suppose. And yeah, like I said, if we can get to feathers, or feeders, if you will, for those of you who are connoisseurs of my debates, if we can get to the feeders level, then we will have a 4-part series in which a new avatar is used every single time, and it's always animated, and I am hoping that we can do that, because I think that will be a fun series. Plus, it would mean, I get to animate every single one of the avatars. Alright, so, with that, I think it is time to let Kent talk. He was just telling us about the Loch Ness Monster. Because according to Kent, if the Loch Ness Monster were actually a prehistoric Mesozoic reptile, that would be a problem for evolution somehow. Yeah, it's not very clear why this would be a problem. But, there it is. Here we go.
If you want to read it for yourself, there's tons of books on this topic. Encyclopedia of Monsters. Anyway.
Encyclopedia of Monsters sounds like a very rigorous source. just putting that out there. It's like taking the zombie survival guide and being like, see, I told you zombies were real. Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Exactly like that.
That checks out. Which actually reminds me of the time that Roger from Mud Fossil U thought that, what was it, Mystery Flesh Pit National Park was a real national park that had been covered up by the government. And it's like, dude, this is supposed to have happened in the 90s. Like, what are you talking about? People would remember. It was a public park, allegedly. Like, come on, dude. It would be like if the government now tried to cover up, like, 9/11. Like, how would you do that? You can't just cover up that the Twin Towers fell. People remember it. It was on the news.
There's plenty of documentation of it.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
He said 9,000 reported sightings, and now it's over 11,000. There's no question some of the 11,000 sightings are hoaxes, lies, fraud. Somebody floats a rubber ducky and takes a picture.
Or also, just mistakes.
Right.
I think that's going to be the majority of them. Oh, yeah. Fear Vegan T-Rex Monger says, this is your daily reminder that someone needs to make a Mystery Flesh Pit National Park movie. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I would watch that movie.
And claims they saw the Loch Ness Monster. There certainly is some tourist value to this, Brings a lot of tourists in because they claim they've seen Loch Ness Monster, and then, of course, that's money. So, but the fact that there's a few frauds doesn't mean they're all frauds. What some people do is they get the mistaken idea, if they can prove one of these sightings to be...
It crashed!
Oh, no.
Because screw me, right? All right, so one of the things is that, yeah, it is a pretty good tourist, thing, right? It's actually not the only lake.
Read it for yourself.
It's actually not the only lake that has this problem. Or not problem, opportunity, I don't know. Whatever. But also, Lake Champlain has a similar thing going on. Where, let me just turn off Bent for a second so I can share the video with him and it not be a weird viewing experience. Yeah, so Lake Champlain has an alleged monster called Champy. And they sell, little kitsch memorabilia and whatnot. Like, you can get a mug with Champy on it and whatnot. And I think that's a big part of the persistence of this, is just that, yeah, it brings in money. Now, Jake Nelson for $5 says, Kent Convoluted Hovind. Also, AIG is a sack of dismembered membranes. Sorry, dismembered members. I don't know why I said membranes. Nice. Take a drink. Yeah, there's also Ogopogo. What lake is Ogopogo in? Al Trucker or AL Trucker? I'm not sure. Put that in there. We're going to try and skip ahead a little bit to get back to where we were when we crashed.
Then, of course, that's money. So, but the fact that there's a few frauds doesn't mean they're all frauds.
You know what? That's true, Kent. That on its own does not mean that they're all frauds. In fact, I don't think they're all frauds.
Take a drink for that.
But you'll notice that he's leaving out a really significant category, which is to say, mistaken identity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, well, they're either frauds or they're true. No, Kent, there is a third option. There is, in fact, more options than just dishonesty or real sighting of actual Loch Ness monster. So, one of the things is like, okay, have you ever woken up late at night and, you know, the room is really dark, but it's not pitch black. You can see a little bit. And you look around and you're still kind of groggy, and there's someone sitting right there. And like, oh, but then you turn on the light, and nope, that was just some clothes on a chair or something. Yeah. If you had told someone, oh, hey, I just saw someone sitting in my room, would that have been a lie before you realized it was just, you know, a pile of clothes? No. But was it actually a person? Also, no. All right, now, Shipfish has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you very much. They went to Robert Adsit, Dragon Spartan 90 Official Snorefoot, Ian Debunked, and Cindy Bidwell Glaze. So here come 5 drinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And also, Goop23 for $2 says, Nessie's not real, but she is real and my bestie. Well, I'm glad that you're besties with Nessie. I just lost my train of thought. I was going to say something. Oh, right. Yeah, I was going to tell people what I'm drinking because I forgot to. I am drinking some, okay, get this, Kroger brand cola with Kroger brand vodka.
Nice.
Because I'm like, okay, I am going to go cheap today because, well, you know, I need to save up some money. And so I was like, you know what? This tiny little bottle of Kroger brand vodka that's like $4, and this 1 2-liter or whatever. No, I guess it was $5. And this 2-liter of Kroger brand cola is going to do it. So, yeah, it's the fanciest drink. I mean, look, it just tastes like Kroger brand cola, which, I mean, if you like cola, it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. Ooh, Zerlon is drinking a fake strawberry daiquiri. I like daiquiris. I haven't had a daiquiri in a while.
Nice.
It's a conditional thing for me, right? Like, I'm not always in the mood for a daiquiri, but sometimes. My this Kroger brand vodka. Holy shit. I can't finish that because I want to stay family friendly. But yeah, look, this is work booze. I'm not going to splurge on work booze unless I have a really good reason, right? Like, if it's just me and I want to get something for myself, I'm definitely not going for Kroger brand vodka. But, like, you know. Savage Chick Shaloob, the Seal of Isis Slayer, Cobra, for $5 says, people are often mistaken. For instance, sometimes people are mistaken about being immune to taxes. Yeah, about that, Kent. That is amazing. I love that one. Which means I can heart it. I forgot that I could heart these, so I hearted that one.
Oh,
there you go. Jillian Wren says that Jillian Wren should send me their daiquiri recipe to test at some point. Hey, go for it. Send it to me. I can't promise what kind of time frame I test it on, but like, I'll at least take a look at it and consider giving it a go.
What some people do is they get the mistaken idea, if they can prove one of these sightings to be a fraud, that proves they're all frauds.
I've literally never heard anyone say that, but it's possible. But I don't know of any instance in which that has been what seems to be like the operating assumption of any...
Yeah, no one goes with that line of thinking.
Yeah. Now, what you can say is, okay, here are the most compelling eyewitness testimonies and photographs, right? And then you can say, well, I can disprove all of these, or I can show compelling reasons why these are not credible. Okay, great. And then what about the rest of them? And I can say, well, they're not really very compelling, are they? Right? Because if just, you know, someone's like, I saw a Loch Ness monster. When? I don't remember. Where? In the loch. Well, yeah, okay. Any more specific? No. Do you have any photographs, or was anyone else with you? No, by myself. Okay, cool. There's nothing there, right? You don't have to debunk that one. That isn't evidence. That's just someone saying a thing. And if you can show that all the most compelling sightings are hoaxes or cases of mistaken identity, then it means there's no compelling reason to believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Also, yeah, I do kind of love that the Mormons gave the world a letter called gay. My guess is that the Mormons who made this letter did not know that the semantic shift in the word gay was coming. So, it's pretty funny.
Oops.
We turned that into a new like super obscure pride flag. Just the letter gay on a flag. It'll be the new secret pride flag.
Well, that's silly. That's like saying if I can find one counterfeit $20 bill, that proves they're all counterfeit.
Yeah, Kent, that is silly. You know what? I'll take a drink just because I'm generous. That is true. That is silly. That's why. But it's also why no one's doing that, as far as I can tell. Aaron Rod decided that Bigfoot wasn't real because he was mistaken for Bigfoot once. That is not good reasoning, but it is hilarious. I'm not sure that that's true. Oh, we just got another $50 on the GoFundMe. So thank you very much. So let's take a drink for that. Because number go up. You know, there really is something psychologically compelling about watching numbers go up. It's true. I've played Cookie Clicker. I know how it is.
Well, that's a poor example because they are all counterfeit since the Federal Reserve just prints them, you know.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I feel like that's a joke that didn't land.
It's not only a joke that didn't land, it's incredibly stupid. So we'll take 2 drinks. Okay, so what counterfeit means is that it is not printed by the actual authority allowed to print the thing, right? So for instance, it doesn't even have to apply to money. Let's say that I made a check that looks identical to a check from your checkbook, signed your signature to it, and then sent myself money from your account. That check is a counterfeit check. Doesn't have anything to do with what normally backs up the checks, which is what Kent's complaining about, is the loss of the gold standard. All that matters is that the thing that I'm presenting to you is claiming to be from the agent to have been made by the agency authorized to make it, when in fact it is not. Now, Dark Law Dragon, who's been a member for 15 months, sends Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah a drink, and AIG are a bag of dicks, so thank you very much. We will take a drink for that. So I don't want to get too far into the gold standard thing. Look, you can have opinions on the gold standard. I don't particularly care. This is not primarily an economics or a politics channel. However, I will say that the fact that, like basically every country's money in the world at this point, the US dollar has no tie to the value of any precious metal does not mean that the $20 bills that you get from the ATM are not issued by the one and only entity that is allowed to issue paper money in the United States. That is not what that means. That is just Kent failing to understand what the word counterfeit means.
Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, Kent, unfortunately I do.
The different tabloid newspapers will always put something in there about we captured the Loch Ness Monster, you know, and it has a baby like this one here. But Sir Peter Scott, as a member of Parliament, he claims he has seen the Loch Ness Monster.
Okay.
Okay.
The fact that someone who's currently in an elected office has seen a thing doesn't mean that that thing is true, right? Most famously, we have someone who was formerly in elected office in the United States who claims that he saw some like 11,700 extra votes in Georgia that didn't exist. Turns out that him saying it doesn't make it true.
Are you trying to tell me that a politician would lie?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
What?
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, as it turns out.
He wears the shirt, I believe in the Loch Ness Monster. That'd be the equivalent of a U.S. senator. He claims, and most people claim, it's a plesiosaur. Now, when you read all the books about Loch Ness Monster, and again, I have read lots of...
Why do I have the feeling that Sir Robert whatever is actually a member of like the House of Lords, which is not an elected office? If anyone wants to check up on that, let me know. What was this guy's name? Let's scroll back just a second. Sir Peter Scott. Yeah, Peter Scott. Sorry, I don't know why I said Robert. Yeah, if anyone wants to check whether or not this man is a member of the House of Lords, which I basically consider to just be of... I know they're of legal significance because technically they can, propose legislation, and they can, just block legislation from passing because it requires both houses of parliament. But I don't consider it a significant personal achievement or anything that lends credibility to be a member of the House of Lords, since most of them are hereditary nobles or bishops in the Church of England. Neither of which I think is an accomplishment that actually should grant you, power or credibility on its own. I guess maybe the bishopric should grant you some kind of like authority to talk about what the Church of England says about theology. But this isn't that. So yeah. Azo64, who's been a member for 8 months and is at the amniote level, says, longest relationship I've ever had. JS, thank you. All right. So yeah, I feel like Sir Peter Scott, probably a member of the House of Lords.
Now, when you read all the books about Loch Ness Monster, and again, I have read lots of them and lots of articles and stories and sightings.
No, you haven't, Kent, because you're functionally illiterate.
They will, almost all of them, describe a plesiosaurus.
Yeah, that's the thing, is nowadays they do, but earlier on, there were many descriptions of the Loch Ness Monster that did not at all fit the description of a plesiosaurus, like a multi-humped, sinuous creature with the face of a horse, or big weird blobs with elephant trunks. And it's only later, after the plesiosaur became a popular, like, prehistoric animal that people knew about, interestingly enough, in large part as a result of the movie King Kong, that the accounts of the Loch Ness Monster started to actually coalesce onto a plesiosaur-like form. Also, Captain Ryan says that according to Wikipedia, Sir Peter Scott is an ornithologist and a conservationist. So, he ran for the House of Commons, but was not elected. So he wasn't even a parliamentarian. Come on, Ken. I'm taking a drink. Guy wasn't even a member of Parliament. Come on.
Details.
Too Young to Feel This Old, who's been a member for 12 months, says, Chaplains on Base briefed today that we can organize, quote, spiritual meetup groups and use the chapel to meet. I am considering starting a weekly secular humanist group to hang out. Think it'd be worth it? I mean, give it a go. See if people want to show up for that. The worst case scenario, right, is that people aren't interested and then you just stop and everything's as it was before. Best case scenario, a whole bunch of people show up and hang out, have a good time in the chapel. Just, be respectful, clean up after yourselves and all that good stuff. Yeah, go for it if you want. So,
a long neck, 4 flippers, short tail.
And Vandalia 1998 says, GoFundMe isn't letting me donate directly because, I don't know, but here's some YouTube filtered money for the car. Thank you very much, Vandalia. Which reminds me, we should double check on that. Has the number gone up? It has gone up. So let us refresh. So we'll take a quick drink for that. Thank you very much to Deidre Robinson, who has just donated $36. Oh, and also Michael Nelson, who donated $75. I don't think I read that off. Wow.
That's amazing.
Bent, you're going to have your car paid off. Well, okay, no, your car is paid off, but you're going to have the repair paid off.
Before I get the car.
That would be nice. All right, here we go.
Some of them describe humps on the back. Some say there are no humps. I've read at least one, maybe 2 stories where somebody said they saw the creature going very slow and there were humps on its back.
Which, by the way, is not a plesiosaur thing. Just putting that out there.
They don't
Several
have
people
humps.
describe it.
They just have the one, right?
Oh, well, I mean, they have an arch to their spine, which I guess you could call a hump. But, like, that's it. They don't have multiple humps. This isn't like a camel or anything. So
Maybe they evolved to have more humps.
I mean, I guess that could be. Doesn't seem super likely, but I guess I can't completely rule it out.
Also, it wouldn't really debunk evolution if it evolved humps.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you guys do want the series where there's a new avatar for every single one, we're currently 152 away.
It has bunches on its back. And then there were 2 of these stories that said they saw all of these bumps straighten out into one big hump as it took off swimming real fast.
Well, that's definitely not a plesiosaur. Plesiosaur spines were actually surprisingly stiff. Even their neck couldn't really do that, and that was like the most flexible part. So, like, yeah, no, that's definitely not it. Atomic Squirrel for $4.99 says, I just waste this on food, shelter, and magic cards. Nice, thank you very much. That reminds me of magic cards, man. That game is very pay to win, and I realized that when like in the transition between first and second edition, because like my friend showed up with all these cards that I didn't even know the rules for. I was like, "This is a shadow creature." I'm like, "What the heck is a shadow creature?" Because like I was like, "Oh, there's fly and trample, and that's it." And he was like, "Oh, you got to get the new cards," and I was like, "Nope, I'm out." And that's when I quit playing Magic the Gathering, when I realized that I would have to be shelling out hundreds of dollars at least every year just to stay competitive if I wanted to keep playing this game. And I was like, not going to do it. It's not going to happen. And other than one other game, I basically just kind of gave up on those, what do you call them? Customizable card games. But there's another bit at the beginning. It's like TTCCG or something like that. Tabletop customizable card games. Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah. I was like, nope, can't do it. It's going to cost me too much money. And I don't regret that decision. Although, I also don't begrudge anyone who's having fun with Magic. Go have as much fun as possible.
Who knows? The theories are that probably, the best theory that I'm aware of is that probably these, as the creature is going slow, the muscles are contracted on its back, making...
Okay, but back muscles weren't used in plesiosaurs to swim, Kent. Like, you have to ignore all the things that make a plesiosaur in order to come up with this, right? It's like, oh, look, hey, Bent, I saw a horse yesterday.
Yeah.
And it had 6 legs, 4 wings, and a big old scorpion tail.
That may have been something else.
Yeah, it may not have been a horse. Yeah, maybe. Oh, it had hooves? No, it didn't have hooves. No hooves. Its legs just ended in lumpy, fleshy bits. Like,
That's weird.
Might not have been a horse. Yeah.
the bumps. And then when it swims fast, the muscles straighten out into one long hump.
How does that even work for anything that isn't a plesiosaur? Like, I'm trying to imagine, like, the biomechanics of, like, you bunch your muscles up. So apparently you just don't have much of a skeleton, because otherwise how would you do that? Into big old humps on your back. And then to swim fast, you straighten out? But then what's the propulsive force coming from? What are these muscles doing? Yeah, like, this is... I'm taking a drink. This is too stupid. I can't even follow how dumb this is. It's ridiculous.
Got a better idea? I'd love to hear it. But when you read these articles about Loch Ness Monster, like this one is from the book Strange Animals, which I don't think I have out here. But he says, others insist Nessie must be a plesiosaur. One thing wrong with this theory is that plesiosaurs are believed to have become extinct 70 million years ago.
I will actually say I do think that that is a bad objection to why this can't be real, or even why it can't be a plesiosaur, right? Just the fact that something was supposed to have been extinct a long time ago is not sufficient to say, well, then it couldn't be that now. You couldn't be seeing that, right? So, now, it's good reason to be skeptical, but yeah, things that were thought to be extinct have turned out not to be in the past. So, could a plesiosaur be part of that group? I mean, it's not logically impossible. It's unlikely.
That ocean is pretty big.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that argues against it is that the plesiosaurs had to breathe air. So chances are someone would have seen one of these breaching for air at some point. But, that being said, yeah, just that it was thought to have gone extinct a long time ago is a bad reason. So I'm kind of with Kent on that.
Now hold it. There's nothing wrong with the theory. There's something wrong with his prejudice, because he's already decided he believes in evolution.
Well, first, that's not a prejudice, because evolution is very well evidenced, Kent, but it's still not a great argument whether or not evolution is true. So, but then again, for some reason, Kent thinks that plesiosaurs surviving till today would be a problem for evolution for reasons that I still can't quite understand.
Arthur Grant is a veterinarian student. He nearly ran into Nessie on his motorcycle one night. 130 or 140.
So I want to point out, the Grant story is actually one of the more famous of the earliest modern sightings of the Loch Ness Monster. And while this image makes it look like a plesiosaur as they were conceived of in like the 50s or so, the actual original story of the Grant monster involves nothing like this, really. It was more of a very hard to discern mound that sort of wiggled up and down by, and seemed to be led by a trunk-like extension that just came straight out of the body and didn't seem to have any head at the end of it. If you actually look at the Grant story, it's very little like this picture. You have to import later. First, you have to assume that it's a real event, and then you have to disregard Grant's own eyewitness testimony of what the creature looked like in order to import later accounts of the Loch Ness Monster and shove those on top of his report to get this art. This art is basically a lie. So while I don't know whether or not Grant was lying, this artist basically is. Now, for $5, Savage Chicxulub, the Silophysis Slayer, Cobra, says, people see things that aren't there all the time. For example, Dr. Snelling saw a rock formation without fractures. Repeatedly. Oof. Yeah, burn on Andrew Snelling there. In case anyone doesn't know, Andrew Snelling is a geologist who does work for Answers in Genesis. I say geologist with a bunch of, scare quotes around it. And he wrote a paper in which he said that there was no stress fracturing in this folded sediment, and therefore it had to have been folded when it was still unlithified. And he had a picture of this folded formation in which there were a number of people. And when you look at pictures of that same exact bit of rock from like the United States Geological Survey, you find that exactly where the people are where the largest stress fractures are.
Busted.
Curious. Very, very curious. So yeah, he's, for that and many other reasons, Andrew Snelling is sort of like my my nemesis. Really don't like that guy.
Because of his lies.
Mm-hmm.
In the morning, he's driving down this new highway there in 1934. The road's just been in for a year. And Nessie scooted across the road in front of his motorcycle. Now, the guy's a veterinarian student. He ought to know something about animals. So he drew this sketch after the sighting.
Which one?
He said...
Not that one. Let's find the Grant Nessie sketch. All right? Let's just pull it up. Grant Loch Ness Monsters sketch. See if we can pull that up. Arthur Grant Loch Ness sketch. Yeah. Okay. So let's open that in a tab. Bring that over. All right. So this is from Wikimedia. And is there an attribution? No, this is public domain because it was published in the United States between 1928 and 1963. And there was no issued copyright notice. So there you, or there was and it wasn't renewed. Now Hillhugger, who's been a member for 11 months, says Loch Ness exists. The monster, not so much. True. Yes, that is accurate. All right, let me make sure that if I switch back to here, we don't accidentally hit the opening music again, and then we will switch scenes. So, okay, so this is the original sketch. There's a few things I want to point out. One is plesiosaurs couldn't bound about on land. They were absolutely, completely water, like restricted to the water. Second, you'll notice that this has a very long tail, not like a plesiosaur, and directly contradicting what Kent said it had, right? So there's a problem there. Now the head, I don't know, maybe. But you'll also notice that the back limbs actually have toes, separate toes, which we know plesiosaurs didn't have. And also, I want to point out, Bent, I don't know if you can see it on the stream or not, but do you remember what the original sketch looked like?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind then. I was going to ask you if this looked like the same sketch. Well, let's ask the audience. Do you think that this is the same sketch that Kent Hovind showed us? Because sure doesn't look like it to me.
No, that is not what he showed.
Yeah, no. So when Kent says that he made this sketch, he's lying. Now, I guess maybe he could have just never looked into it, but by the fact that he's citing the Arthur Grant sketch as a eyewitness account and saying this is the Arthur Grant sketch, what he's implying is that he's looked at the Arthur Grant sketch and says that this is it, which isn't true. So either he's lying about it being the sketch, or he's lying about having actually investigated this to the point that he can say what the sketch is. So, yeah. All right, we're going to switch back over to the regularly scheduled Kent with Bent scene. So, yeah. Kent, you're lying again. DM Mitochondria goodness. DM Mitochondria based natural medicine wing for $5 says, have people over, so we'll have to watch later. OMG, I see the Loch Ness monster. So dropping $5 to say turtles are the best tetrapod. Well, I hope you have fun with your guests, and thank you very much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. All right, here's some more Kent.
It moved very clumsy, like a seal with flippers. Here's the sketch he drew of Loch Ness monster. Alexander Campbell is the game warden, was the game warden for Loch Ness for 47 years. He said he saw it 18 times, and it looks like that. That was from his 1934 sighting, shortly after the road was put in.
Okay, that's too big of a body for any plesiosaur. So again, we're seeing things that do not look like plesiosaurs. Although at least this time it looks like the original sketch, and I'm pretty sure it is, so I'll give him that. So we're just going to take another drink for a sketch that doesn't look like a plesiosaur being used as evidence of a plesiosaur, which is just great. Okay.
Cages have been built. They've baited the traps with everything you can imagine and some stuff you cannot imagine, trying to capture this creature into the
I don't know, Kent. I can imagine quite a lot.
traps. They've tried all sorts of things to get Loch Ness monster. You have to understand, Loch Ness is a huge lake. It's big enough that everybody in the world could go drowned in it at the same time. It would hold the entire...
Hey, quick point, Kent. The word is drown. There's no D at the end of it. Everyone in the world could go drown in it. Not drowned. That would be the past tense. Everyone in the world drowned at Loch Ness. You could say that.
The world's population of 6 billion people would fit in that lake. Mm-hmm. And it is very black water. It's got so much suspended peat particles in it. Here is a bottle of water from Loch Ness. Because it's in a valley between...
a glacial moraine valley, by the way, which still causes problems for the idea that this is a late surviving plesiosaur that got its way into the loch. Because how would it get there? It couldn't have survived there since during the glaciation, the entire thing was covered in ice. And it couldn't swim there because the stream connecting it to the ocean is too shallow. So we still have this whole, like, how does it get there? Even under Kent's model. Because remember, Kent believes in glaciation and an ice age. He just thinks that there was only one ice age and that it happened very, very recently. So, yeah, this doesn't work for him at all.
These mountains, when it rains, especially peat, which is partially decayed plant material.
Hey, that is the bulk of peat. Good job, Kent. We'll take a drink for it. It's also the kind of thing that turns into coal eventually.
Nice.
Peat is basically pre-coal. In fact, it used to be a big business to take peat and use it as fuel. People would burn it. In fact, people still do burn it, but usually it's not like their major source of energy or whatnot. But yeah, it used to be like what people used in their stoves and whatnot. It's peat. A Star You for $4.99 says, thanks, Kent, for the cursed conlang idea. Now my cursed conlang will have infinitives take the same form as their helping verb. Oof. No, don't do that. That sounds... I guess it's cursed, so yeah, okay, fine. Cursed conlangs are quite the thing. It is... yeah, it's a thing that exists.
Washes off into the water and very, very slowly sinks to the bottom. Any little movement or storms or disturbance, makes the water muddy, like a mud puddle. I'll pass this around. If you shake it up, you can see all the stuff floating in here, the suspended peat particles. That is what the whole lake is like.
That is such a weird visual. Like, oh, hey, I have this bottle of water from Loch Ness. Like, okay, cool. I'd have taken your word for it that the water's dark, Kent, but I mean, okay. I mean, it is. I don't have to take his word for it. I know enough about the loch to know that it's very, very dim and dingy water. I certainly wouldn't want to drink it, but like, yeah, sure.
Now, if you get enough of that stuff together, you get 6 or 8 or 10 feet. It eventually blocks all the light.
I'm pretty sure it doesn't even take that long, but I don't know. So, yeah, there's no light at the bottom of Loch Ness. That's pretty accurate.
And so the top 6 feet might be fairly clear, and the deeper you go, the darker it gets, and you get down 6, 8, 10 feet, and it's black. sunlight can't penetrate through all that stuff floating around. And so you've got a lake nearly 1,000 feet deep of pitch black. You can't see anything. There's just too much stuff floating in the water, just like a mud puddle. Shine a flashlight into a mud puddle sometime and you'll see what I'm talking about. The light just simply won't penetrate. Many sketches have been drawn of this creature. The Spicer family said they saw it with a sheep in its mouth, headed back for the lake. One guy heard a disturbance in the water. He had some friends hold torches, and he went out there and took a picture. And he got a picture of a hump and a neck. Off to the right, you can see the neck sticking out. Now,
I mean, that is a very low quality picture. That could be almost anything. There's also no sense of scale. So this was a problem we had last time, right? Remember there was the picture of this snake, and Kent's like, look, this is a gigantic snake. And it's like, well, I'll grant you that it's a snake, but like, how do I know how big it is? There's nothing to compare it to. And at least in that one, there was a little bit more. It was a little higher quality of the picture, but this is just trash. Like, those little white bits in the foreground, are those waves? Are those floating debris? What is that? What's the actual size of these waves? What's the normal size of the waves in the loch? Like, what do we compare this to? How do I know that this is not 6 inches long and instead is like 6 feet or whatever? And also, what could this be? Almost anything. I mean, that could be a bit of roots from a tree. How would I know? This is... I'm not saying this is a hoax, right? Because I don't think this is a hoax. It might be, but I don't think it is. But it's also not evidence of anything. Like, seriously, if I just showed you a bunch of black and white pixels and smudges and said, this is a picture of aliens.
Sure.
Then would
That could be aliens.
It could be, but would that make you believe that I saw aliens?
No.
No. Oh yeah, Savage Cobra says, I feel like Kent doesn't know that torch is British English for flashlight. He might not. There's a fair chance he might not. He might actually be picturing them with an actual, like, you know, like oil-soaked rag on the end of a stick that they've set aflame and they're holding it up. I don't know. Maybe.
when they republished this picture in Reader's Digest, they cut the head off.
Kent, do you have the one with the head? Do you have that, Kent? Or is that just a story?
You know how they crop pictures to make them fit? All you see here is the back.
I guess he does have the earlier picture, but neither of them shows me anything that is reasonably identifiable as the Loch Ness Monster, or even how big the subject is. Like, the subject of this photo could be almost anything. I'll grant you, it's a thing in water. That seems pretty clear.
Reader's Digest, Reader's Digest abridged version, where they cut the head off of the creature. MacLeod said he watched it through binoculars for 10 minutes. Tim Dinsdale, the author of this book, Loch Ness Monster, which is still on the shelf in there, Tim Dinsdale was an engineer from England or London, I believe.
Oh, engineers. The Salem hypothesis is back for us, except this time it's in cryptozoology.
He went and saw the Loch Ness Monster. He said he videotaped it for like a minute, or filmed it with a film. It was great distance. It was zigzagging back and forth across the lake. He took the film to the, I believe it was the military, the Royal Air Force, the guys who analyze film, you know, like high altitude photography. And they said it's definitely an animate object, the living object. And Tim got so excited about what he saw that he quit his job, bought a boat, and went and lived on Loch Ness.
Hey, here's a cool thing. Did you know that there is an animal that can form little moving humps in the water that undulate up and down, and that can actually even form long chains that can move across the river purposefully?
Which animal?
It's called an otter. You might not have heard of it. It's a very obscure animal. Otter. They're actually related to weasels. And they've been known, they're not normally in the loch, but they've been known to enter it from time to time from downstream, basically. So they're more common in the river that's leading away from the loch. But sometimes they go in the loch, and people get confused about them because they see these undulating humps. And when there's no sense of scale, you might mistake a family of otters for a single animal. A very large animal, maybe, especially if your imagination has already been primed to the idea that there's a big old monster in the loch. Does that mean that that's actually what's going on? No. It's just otters. Oh, wait, there was a joke that didn't land in regards to, I'm sorry, Reader's Digest. All right, I'm going to take a drink for that. Cool.
Oh, because you call it abridged, because they removed the head.
Oh, got it, yeah. It was so unfunny I didn't even notice it.
He snuck it in there already, so.
He wanted to see it again, that bad. Dedicated the rest of his life to researching, interviewing people who've seen it, gathering information. To my knowledge, he never saw it again. But he's written several books. He just...
Can we see the film he took?
No, apparently not. I've actually seen it. It's not very impressive. Because the thing is, I had my Loch Ness Monster phase where I was like, yeah, cool, let's look into this. And I very quickly came to the conclusion there's no evidence for a Loch Ness Monster. Now, here's the thing, right? If the Loch Ness Monster is a plesiosaur, it's going to breach for air. And people are like, oh, but there's air-filled caverns underneath the loch in little side caves. Well, that's cool, but unless they're open to the atmosphere, they're going to get stale. The oxygen's going to run out, and you won't be able to continue to breathe from there. It's going to happen pretty fast overall. So, no.
Died here several years ago, but he wrote several books on the Loch Ness Monster. He describes, for instance, Torquil MacLeod, who watched the critter for 9 minutes through binoculars and drew those sketches. MacLeod, after watching it 9 minutes, said, I think Loch Ness Monster looks like this. Many people have drawn sketches.
Oh, hey, it has a dorsal fin. That's not something we get in plesiosaurs. That's weird. Now, Dr. Tapioca Weasel has just gifted a Dapper Dinosaur membership. Thank you very much, Dr. Tapioca Weasel. It went to Skeletor over 9,000. Congratulations, Skeletor over 9,000. Everybody, send some tetrapod emojis or some sessile tunicates. Not pelagic tunicates. Fearmonger, you're doing it wrong. Take a drink, though. Oh, Snorfwood's doing it wrong, too. Oh, but Bent's doing it wrong, too. My goodness, everybody.
I must have misclicked a whole bunch of times.
I'm fed up with this world.
Let me try again.
Everybody betray me. Keep your stupid comments in your pocket. All right.
Some people say it has horns or tubes on its head. All sorts of speculation is about this.
Yeah, it's almost like it's not a single creature that everyone's seeing that they can all reference back to, keeping it consistent. It's almost like that.
Most people do not describe anything on its head. A few say it's got bumps sticking up, and they think there might be retractable breathing tubes. You know, like a snail's eyes. His eyes will stick up, and when...
Kent, you know that plesiosaurs are basically like stem turtles, right? Pretty sure it wasn't something that had a retractable snorkel. But okay, sure, whatever.
You touch them, they go back down in his head. There's all sorts of guesses on this. Nobody knows for sure what it is. But World Book Encyclopedia put a submarine in Loch Ness. They brought the submarine from Atlanta, Georgia. Dan Taylor built it. And they brought the sub over there, put it in the lake. There have been 3 submarine attempts they've tried.
Now, Kent, weren't you the one who was telling me how there's really no visibility in the loch?
Yes, he was. 8 to 10 feet, he said.
Seems weird that you would then go investigate it with a submarine with portholes. Because what advantage would that give you? Seems like it would be none.
Yeah, you'd have to be like 4 feet deep alongside Nessie, who's just under the surface of the water.
Right?
And right next to her.
Right. Like, oh, look, Nessie decided to brush 6 inches past my porthole. I guess it is real. Oh, okay.
White ones, yellow ones, and I think red ones were the other. It's in one of these books here. About
the colors of the submarines is what matters.
They got a yellow submarine. Let's be careful now. I don't want to get a copyright claim.
To see the Loch Ness Monster.
Also, that thing looks claustrophobic AF. I would not want to get in that thing and then go down into a 1,000-foot deep lake. No, thank you. I will pass. Ugh. It's like the actual submersibles that go down to the Titanic that don't get crushed. And you look at them and they're like, everyone has like literally no room. You cannot move once you're sealed into that thing. And I was like, nope. There's no way I get in that thing for like a 12-hour dive or something. Not gonna happen. You know what, James Cameron, you have fun with that. I'm gonna let you do it, and I'm gonna just take a look at the pictures afterwards. Because you know what, that's fine. I don't need to see that in person. There's some things I don't need to see in person.
Dan Taylor went down in his sub, and here's what he said. He said he now lives in Hardyville, South Carolina. He said, Nessie is pretty elusive. I thought I got her. Something was lying on the bottom, and the wash from it threw my submarine way off course. He's going along, and something huge took off, and the backwash from it threw his submarine, turned his submarine around.
Oh, cool. Did he get any, you know, like photographs of it, or samples of it, or find a body?
He didn't think to bring his camera.
Ah, right.
Website, nessaproject.com. If you want to see, he's building another sub right now to go over there again. Now, he's getting to be an old man, but he has just devoted his life to this. He is so convinced there's something in there.
Okay, Ken, you think that people have devoted their life to evolution, and you don't think evolution is true. So you think that people can devote their lives to things that aren't true. So the fact that some guy devoted his life to finding the Loch Ness Monster and got a submersible going doesn't mean that there's a Loch Ness Monster. And the fact that a guy who's highly motivated to believe in the Loch Ness Monster and to attribute things to it thinks that the Loch Ness Monster swished his sub around doesn't really mean a whole lot. Right? Because this is not exactly an unbiased observer here. So, yeah.
I still don't know what the Loch Ness Monster has to do with evolution.
Oh, nothing. This is just the cryptozoology episode because Kent thinks that that's an important thing for some reason. Because basically, Kent is not just a young Earth creationist, right? He is a conspiracy theorist. He believes so many conspiracy theories. He believes 9/11 was an inside job. He's an anti-vaxxer. He's just an overall COVID denier. He believes that, like, the Rothschilds are still controlling the, well, not still, but that they're controlling the worldwide banking institution, when in fact, at one point they had a large share of European banking institutions, but not even that's still the case. Like, he believes that the public education system was set up to encourage atheism and socialism by the Frankfurt School, often in Germany. It's like every single possible conspiracy theory that
Except
does
Flat
not...
Earth.
Well, except Flat Earth, that does not directly contradict his theology. Yeah, with the exception of Flat Earth, I guess. He basically just buys into, right? He believes that Laetrile, which is basically just stuff that's going to give you cyanide poisoning, is going to cure and prevent cancer. None of these things are true, but Kent believes them. He's a sovereign citizen who just doesn't like to call himself a sovereign citizen. Like, Kent might be the most credulous person in the world. And I really think the only reason that he doesn't believe in the flat Earth is that it didn't become popular when he was, like, in his formative years. And because, of course, when he went to that fake undergrad school that was a non-accredited Christian training school or whatever, that they didn't teach that. If they had, he probably would believe it to this day. Oh, yeah, he's also an abuser and a grifter, as Maya Atkinson points out. Yeah, he's definitely that, too. Right. He's more than one thing. He's also a liar, an abuser, and a grifter. And also possibly the most credulous person in the world. He has not a skeptical bone in his body. He has a lot of denialist bones, though.
The Japanese came over and put 24 boats in Loch Ness and drove the entire length of the lake with sonar.
Like how he says the Japanese, like this was a project of like the Japanese government, or maybe the entire population of Japan showed up in Scotland one day. It's like, this is a Japanese expedition. It's not just the Japanese showed up. It's a weird way to put it. I don't like it.
What did the sonar
All of them had...
Oh, nothing. The sonar showed nothing. They swept the entire lake, like he says in this diagram here, where basically they created an entire lake-wide grid, and they found no evidence of Nessie.
Shucks.
I know.
Sonar devices, and as far as anybody knows, that's the first time the bottom of Loch Ness was scanned. Continuous scan of sonar. They said the bottom of Loch Ness is wrinkled up like a raisin. There are many places to hide, and I'm sure Nessie heard 24 boats coming down the lake. Sound travels real good underwater.
Of course, Nessie hid.
Hey, that's... Right? Yeah, of course Nessie hid. You just didn't see her because she was hiding. And also, I want to take a drink because water does travel in water... Or, sorry, sound does travel in water very well. Kent got that right. But also, like, there's got to be more than one creature. Loch Ness Monster can't have been a single animal that's lived that long. There's got to be a population. So it can't just be that the Loch Ness Monster hid. right? There would be many of them. There would have been some evidence at some point. Goop23 for $5 says, I'm sick right now, but this episode is making my Nessie hyperfixation brain go burr and helping me feel less bad, with a heart and sparkly emoji. Well, thank you very much, Goop2. I'm glad that the stream is helping. I know being sick really sucks, so I hope that you feel better, and I'm glad that stream is doing that for you. All right, here we go.
There appear to be caves off to the side up into the mountains. Some have speculated that there might even be what's called an airlock, where the creature could go from the lake up into a cave in a mountain and then back down into the ocean.
How would that not make the water in Loch Ness salty? Right? If there's a continuous path from the loch right to the ocean that is big enough for a plesiosaur to swim through, because remember, they can't come on land, then that would just make the loch salt water, or at least brackish, but it's not. Strawberry Artery Official Bootleg Edition, who's been a member for 3 months and is at the annual level, says, Hey Dapper, what's your favorite color, and can I turn into a lipstick and name it after you for my Halloween collection? I need ideas, be specific. I don't even know that I have a favorite color. I really like teals, though. Teals are a really cool color. I know I don't use it a lot in like my art and whatnot, but I do really like it. If I'm playing a video game that has like customizable colors, various shades of teal are often one of the ones that I go to. Remind me on like Discord or something, and I can send you like a hex code or something for a shade of teal that I like. Do that. Yeah, because I'm probably not gonna be able to get super specific just now. Yeah, if you do that, I'll send you like a color swatch or a hex code or something. All right,
That's nice.
All right, here we go.
So the water wouldn't be transferred back and forth, because same thing as the toilet, with the siphon on a toilet. But there could be a mechanism of getting back and forth. You certainly can swim out the Inverness River, except there are locks and dams in the way now. But even then, you could still get out. One guy did get a picture of a giant diamond-shaped flipper. The Academy of Applied Science, 1972, got this picture. Rhines, I think his name was. It's been a while since I read that story. But he said...
All right, so this is what you call a heavily processed photo. Oh, real quick, Vandalia 1998. We're going to read this. We're going to respond to this flipper thing. Then we're going to take a quick break. So Vandalia 1998 says, for $5, I guess they are assuming Nessie can reproduce asexually. That is quite the assumption. And only has one baby at a time, because I can't think any other way that this would work. Yeah, no, that would work as long as there's a 0% infant mortality rate, which that's not normally how animals work. Yeah, that's almost as bad at biology as the writers of Star Trek Voyager are when they came up with the Ogopogo species, who are in fact not asexual. They need a male and a female, but then the females can only give birth once to a single baby each generation. It's like, my dude, that halves your population number every single generation. No, you can't do that.
They didn't think that one through.
No, they really did not. All right, so this photo is heavily altered. It has had its contrast fiddled with. It's had various areas lightened and darkened and whatnot. You can actually find the original unaltered version of this photo, and it's basically just a bunch of nonsense. The person who took it wanted there to be a flipper. When I looked at the original unaltered photo, I basically just saw a bunch of gunk, like maybe some floating like plant matter or something. This is an example of someone seeing what they wanted to see as a like instance of pareidolia, and then altering the photo in various ways until everyone could see what they wanted to see. But that doesn't mean that that's what was there. So we're now going to take a quick intermission. I want to say that we are 117 away from feeders. We could do it. We're more than halfway there. We've got another hour coming up, and if you guys can push through, we could get that 4 episodes, new avatar each time, including feeders. If you don't, by the way, I'm just going to default back to probably the Cyber Dapper for it. So, it'll be a cool video either way, I think. All right, well, with that, we're going to get out of here for just a little bit, and we will be back shortly. And we are back. Welcome back, Bent.
Thank you so much. It's good to be back.
All right, we got a couple things to read real quick. A Star Youth for $4.99 says, I love Star Trek Voyager, but the science at times is so ludicrous. Less ludicrous than Kent science, though. Guy probably thinks Mothra is real and will take a drink for Mothra. Thank you very much.
That was great.
My favorite Star Trek Voyager craziness is when they found a, quote, crack in the event horizon of a black hole, which it's...
That's not how that works.
Yeah, it's like saying you found a crack in your 5K run. Like, it's just a distance. It doesn't make any sense for it to have a crack in it. Like, what is it? That's not a physical object that could be cracked. Or it's like saying, "Oh man, I went really high up and above Earth, but I didn't quite get to space because I flew through a crack in the Kármán line." Like, what do you mean? It's not a thing that can have a crack in it. Doesn't make any sense. So, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, who's been a member for 17 months and is at the diapsy level, thank you very much, says, I, Dapper Dinosaur, which is weird because I'm Dapper Dinosaur, not you, Dr. Tapioca Weasel, hereby give all God-fearing moths permission to mute those who befoul this space with the stench of pelagic tunicate. Any statement I made about this just being a thing I'm reading shall be disregarded. I was wondering why it was so long.
Turn it.
Very clever. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, no, first we got a few things. So, in case you guys don't know, this channel is almost entirely supported directly by the viewers, whether it be on Patreon, channel memberships, super chats, even getting stuff from the Amazon wish lists. So, if you would like to support the channel, but you're currently not doing it, there are a number of ways to do that I've already mentioned. The Patreon, both mine and Ben's, are linked in the description below. Mine starts at $1 a month, and it can go all the way to $100 a month. You can also get a 12% discount if you go annually, which means that for less than $11 US, you can have a year's worth of access to the supporters-only Discord server, to all the early access videos, and all that stuff. At higher tiers, there are higher perks. There's also the memberships that start at $1.99 and can go as high as $20 a month. Those also give you access to the same Discord server and the same early access stuff. Sorry. At the $5 tier, you'll appear in the credits. At the $20 tier, I'll say your name during the credits. There's also things like at a $10 tier or up, at least on Patreon, you can get access to like 3D assets that I've made. A lot of it's procedural stuff so that you can make your own 3D assets with just changing a few sliders. And if that's not for you, if you don't want to do an annual or a monthly thing, but you still like to help out, both Bent and I also have Amazon wish lists that are linked in the description. And there's also a merch store linked in the description where you can get things like that blanket that you can see behind Bent's right shoulder. Or say mugs or t-shirts or baby onesies or phone cases or lots of other things. So yeah, just want to point that out. It really does help. It's very important. So here we go.
He dropped a weight down where the water was only 80 feet deep, and it had a float on the top, and he attached cameras that were sonar activated, and he put sonar devices.
Oh, by the way, Ember for $2 says, mute this. Pelagic tunicate, but also a Mothra. Thank you very much. And Whispers Das, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, for $5 says, regarding the crack in the event horizon, clearly the air in that part of space was different. Oh, man, I love that. And also, that was Whispers Das' first super chat on the channel. So thank you very much. I really appreciate that. All right, here we go.
Down there, so if anything swims in front of the camera, it'll trigger the camera to take pictures and flashes to go off.
Oh, did I mention that the feeders number is also the Bent in a tutu number?
So if you want to see number,
if you want to see Bent in a tutu next week, then that's the way to do it.
Make it happen.
Also, we have from a star you for $9.99. I think my favorite Star Trek Voyager moment was destroying the creme in cursor. Yeah, there it is. Like, if I recall correctly, it wasn't charging its laser or anything, and it wasn't erased from the timeline. So how did that undo the Year of Hell? Because of timey-wimey stuff. Just accept it. It's okay. It's fine.
Wibbly wobbly.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey, Crenum stuff. Yeah. The Crenum incursor was it was linked to the whole of the multiverse via its time travel nonsense. I don't know. Just doesn't make any sense to me either. The whole Year of Hell only made the vaguest of sense as a plot line. And also I hate plot lines that are just like, oh, the whole plot just didn't happen effectively. It's also why I hate there's like this one season 1 episode or something where like Kes feels something weird on a planet. And they go down and investigate, and then I think it's like Harry and Janeway get sent back in time, and they find out that, oh, the planet's messing with this super dangerous form of like power generation. But then they stop it, which erases the reason that Kes felt the weird thing, which means that then they never went back in time. And so then they just passed the planet by. I'm like, okay, so that episode just didn't happen. Great.
It was all a dream.
Thanks, writers. That really, really was a useful episode that I definitely want to rewatch. Anyway.
Understand this is extremely dirty water, as you can see from the example there. And so the images here are computer enhanced.
Yes, yes they are. To the point that they're basically dishonest.
From the images that he got with his film, because of the murkiness of the water. But again, it appeared to have diamond-shaped flippers. There's a fairly famous picture here from Reader's Digest showing Nessie with its mouth open. Many people describe...
Now that looks like a hoax. But okay. Whispers Das for $2 says, normally I say Deus. Oh, Deus. Or Days. I can try to go with Days. Deus? Or Days?
Days.
Whisper Days? Whispers Days. Okay. I will try to remember that. And I cannot guarantee that I will always get it right. So please feel free to correct me with pronunciation anytime I say anyone's name the way that they would not like it to be said. So there you go. Alex Markle says, it was clearly a filler episode. Look, there are a lot of great filler episodes. There's nothing wrong with a filler episode, but that was a bad filler episode. That's why I don't like it.
Humps. The surgeon's photo is interesting. They claim it was faked, and it certainly could have been. I don't know.
Yeah, the people who took it came out and said it was fake, Kent. This is like the Ica stones all over. Like, oh, hey, the guy who found it was like, no, I've made that. It's like, yeah, but are you sure?
Demonstrated it.
Yeah. It was a little toy boat with a fake Nessie body put over it. And again, no scale. So they could make it be however big they wanted by just claiming it.
But the story goes that a London surgeon was down there at Loch Ness with his mistress. And so he took this picture of Loch Ness Monster and didn't want his name associated with it because his wife is going to start asking questions. Where were you this weekend? Well, he was down at Loch Ness with his girlfriend. Anyway, that's how the story goes. But
I'm actually not familiar with the part of this where there's a mistress involved, but like, I don't really care because it doesn't really add or detract from the credibility of the story, in my opinion. But like, yeah, no, the people involved with this came forward and said, oh no, we faked it and this is how. So, yeah. And even if they hadn't, again, we have no idea what's going on there. There isn't enough sense of scale or even like things that are identifiable as being even from Loch Ness. They could have faked this anywhere and just said it was from Loch Ness. Right? Yeah. It's just a thing in the water. It means nothing unless you have some kind of context to go along with it.
His nephew was dying, and somebody said they heard the nephew say...
Dr. Truth Weasel Official for $2 says, how hard is it to add a giraffe for scale? Well, it's really hard because remember, that one old guy told us that there's a satanic conspiracy to hide the animals that disprove evolution, like the giraffe. Which is why no one knows about giraffes, because of the satanic conspiracy to hide them from the public. Yeah. So, which actually... I
feel like I've seen giraffes, though.
That just makes you part of the conspiracy.
Okay, cool. I'm in a group now. I like it.
Yeah, you're now one of the Satanist friends. Hooray!
On his deathbed, that the whole thing was a fake. That they made a rubber toy and
Savage Chick Salube, the Coelophysis Slayer Cobra, says for $2, Monty Python voice, get on with it! Oh man, I used that clip in a recent video, yeah.
Floated it and took the pictures to make it look like Loch Ness Monster so he could become famous. The story may be true, I don't know. But the last guy who could have known died. So there's no way to verify the story either way. I don't know who's telling the truth.
By Unfinished Journey says, by criterion of embarrassment. So here's the thing. Like, I'm willing to entertain the criterion of embarrassment as a indication of truthfulness in some circumstances. But when there's just no physical evidence, then no, right? If it's something that requires an extraordinary amount of evidence because it's an extraordinary claim, then the principle of embarrassment is not enough for me to say that I therefore think this is a reasonably accurate account. If it isn't a particularly extraordinary claim, but it still causes embarrassment to the person making the claim, and they still go with it, then I'll like, okay, there's something there.
But there are other lakes besides Loch Ness. There are several other lakes in Scotland describing creatures like this, and I don't have any of the books here, but I've read books about Morgwar and other lakes over there. Let's see, there's the Loch Morar, Loch Shiel, Loch Lochy, Loch Ness, Loch Arkaig, and many have legends about a creature similar to this.
Yeah, many lakes around the world. Honestly, it's at the point where, like, I'm kind of surprised anytime there's a big lake that doesn't have a monster associated with it. But just like trickster gods and shapeshifters are a common feature of, like, folklore all over the place, the fact that lake monsters are too doesn't lend credence to any of those things, right? Kent doesn't believe in trickster gods. Well, I mean, he kind of does, because, I mean, if his worldview were accurate, then God would have to be a trickster god. But, like, he doesn't believe in, like, Loki or, like, the coyote spirit from many, like, various Native American legends, or various tricksters, right? Or, in the case of, like, various African animistic traditions, it's often either jackals or hyenas that are tricksters. He doesn't believe in any of these things. But they're all over the place, Kent. It's because it doesn't feed into his particular worldview. He doesn't have an actual standard of evidence, right? Whereas, like, well, if an element of folklore is common enough, then I just believe it. See, the flood, and dinosaurs, apparently, even though nothing that he's described would realistically be a dinosaur. See, those are evidence of the flood, because those must be true because of how widespread the folklore is. Oh, trickster gods, shapeshifters? No, not in for that. Okay, Kent, why? Because it doesn't comport with your pre-conclusion that Genesis is literally true. I was going to, like, restrict it to certain chapters, but he thinks the whole thing is, so.
Right.
The Morgwar is the Cornish sea serpent, the part of England sticking out down there at the bottom left-hand corner.
No.
Something's been seen
If it were part of England, it would be England, not Cornwall.
there. These two pictures here show the neck in
But yeah, Cornwall was conquered by England long enough ago. Whatever, it's fine.
different positions. Now, a series of photos is always good to show any movement.
These are the
And you
worst
can see the neck
pictures
isn't.
I've ever seen.
Yeah, those don't show me anything. It's like, oh, I can see how there's movement, but, like, I don't even know that those are photographs of a real subject. Those could just be photographs of drawings, for all I can tell.
Right. It's impossible to tell. Use an HD camera, Kent.
Well, I don't think they were available at the time.
Well, they're available now.
Yeah, which is interesting. You don't get a lot of
Did Nessie
compelling...
die?
Yeah, you don't get a lot of compelling Nessie photos nowadays. Weird.
Now that everyone has a cell phone on them, so
Right.
anyone could take a video.
Yeah, it's like flying saucers and Bigfoot. It's like the amount of, like, reasonably credible photos has gone down as cameras have become better and better and more ubiquitous. It's almost like they're things that just don't exist. Just a county within the country of England? No. I am a proponent of Cornish independence. Make Cornwall independent again. Get it out from under the thumb of the the English crown. Same thing for Wales. Gonna bring back all the Celtic independence movements. I'm pro those. Gonna get Wales to separate, Cornwall to separate, Scotland to separate, and get Northern Ireland. You know what? It doesn't even have to join with the Republic. It can just be its own thing, separate from the rest of them. There you go. Take that. And then we'll give the Picts back London. Or something. I don't know. I don't think there are any Picts left that are identifiable. We could still try.
Indeed, straightening out. This was a long-distance shot, and so, you know, the picture's kind of blurry. People say, well, if there's a Loch Ness Monster, why doesn't somebody get a good picture? That's a fair question. First of all, I think
It is a fair question. We basically just had that question. You know what, Ken? Here's a drink for you being right. It is a fair question. Good job, buddy. Our drink counter's kind of low. We've got to get more Mothra Godzilla chats in.
Fairly good pictures have been taken. Secondly, I would ask you the question, how many of you have ever seen a car accident? You what?
Well, first of all, there's Godzilla. Also, yeah, I've seen a car accident.
Okay.
Should happen. I have probably seen 100 of them. We saw 50.
I don't think Kent can count.
I don't either. Goop23, though, for $2 says, pics or it didn't happen. Yes. Very nice. I like it. Oh, man. Oh, hey, we're only 87 away. We could definitely do it. We could make Bent wear a tutu. I wish we could make...
Call me Kent.
I wish we could make Kent wear a tutu. That would be so much more fun.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
In one day in an ice storm up in Wisconsin. Watched them happen all around us. We watched them going on like crazy. I'd like somebody to get me a picture of a car wreck as it happens.
I mean, people have dash cams, Kent. They're all over the place. Like, you can literally just go online right now, go to, like, YouTube and see, like, type in, like, car crash and watch car crashes happen. And video files, in case you didn't know, are just a series of still images. So, yeah. Now, Savage, Chicxulub, the Coelophysis Slayer Cobra, has just gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. They went to The Gay Bead, Cool Jesus, Bio Alley, Christopher Kennedy Theist, and Trippy Liquids. Thank you very much. That brings us much, much closer. So that brings us, we're only 62 away.
Nice.
And we're going to take 5 drinks. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Thank you very much. All right. Yeah, the Gay Bee needs to change their name so that instead of spelling out G-A-Y, it just has the Deseret letter gay. That's so much better. We need to turn that into like an ideogram for the word gay, so that when you just see it, you just think the word gay, like it's Chinese or something. Just one symbol for the whole word, right there. Olivia Williams for $2.79 Beaver Bucks says, "As you command, Mothra," and we get another drink trigger. Thank you. All right, here we go.
Even if your camera is sitting there beside you, which it probably isn't.
Well, it is now, but okay.
When the accident happens, you won't think in time to get the camera, focus it in, and take a picture. And
I feel like Ken has just never heard of video cameras, despite himself currently being recorded on one. Like,
he probably knows he's being recorded too.
Yeah, probably. This is just the craziest thing. Oh, plus, I mean, it is trivially easy to find pictures of in-progress car crashes. Like I said, it's really, really easy.
There's montages of them.
Mm-hmm. You think no one is ever filming the loch? I guarantee you someone is filming the loch pretty often. There's pretty often going to be someone out there holding up some kind of video equipment to the water. Even if it's just to record a nice day on their vacation.
even when you have a camera with you, when you see Loch Ness Monster, it's like, wow, what about, and then it's gone and it's too late, you don't get a picture. So,
unless you're like an actual photography type. Like, some people actually have like that instinct for photography, right? Where like they're good at photography and they're just so used to doing the thing where it's like, oh, hey, something's happening. Pick up my camera.
Like Jimmy Olsen.
Sure. If you say so. I don't.
In Superman 3.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like, that's a thing that people do. But no. So for $4.99, a Staryu says, since Hovind has pushed it so high, petition to coin a new measure of stupidity. The Salama Janeway equal to 1 cent to Hovind at the time of writing. I'll take it under consideration. Maybe if we have a second, we'll bring it up at the committee. Thank you very much. All right, here we go.
So, English Channel has reported something like this. The English Channel, Sea Serpent. Sea Dragon was listed in an old dictionary somebody sent me. We think the dictionary was 1766. The cover and first 4 pages.
Kent, if you look up things in a dictionary, it will be full of words for things that no one thinks exist, including you. The dictionary isn't there to tell you what's real. The dictionary is there to list out the words that people use in a language so that people who don't know that particular word can go check it and see what people mean when they say that word. The fact that it's in the dictionary doesn't matter. All that matters is, did people say it and mean something by it? If the answer is yes, then it goes in the dictionary. What does he think dictionaries are for? Does he think they're just encyclopedias of the things that exist?
Well, if he can't read, then he might not know what dictionaries are.
Fair point. Fair point.
Pages were torn off, so we don't know, but I've got it in the office there. The dictionary reported, though, a marine monster caught in England in 1749, called a sea dragon, resembling in some degree an alligator, but having 2 large fins which serve for swimming or flying.
I'm just going to point out that this is supposed to be from a dictionary from 1766, but also it says that it's from, like, Gentleman's Magazine. So what's happening here is, I'm not even sure this is from a dictionary, but if it is, then it's the dictionary quoting Gentleman's Magazine as an example of the use of this word, and really you should be citing the actual Gentleman's Magazine, which is apparently a quarterly thing. I think that's what QN is supposed to mean. Not really positive. Like, goodness. Also, I don't think that magazine is a super reliable source of information. Because my guess is that 18th century magazines weren't exactly peer-reviewed.
Probably not.
It had 2 legs terminating in hoofs like those of an ass. Its body was covered with impenetrable scales.
So definitely not a plesiosaur, because they didn't have hooves. Take a drink for how ridiculously dumb this is. Sounds more like a hippocampus, but hey, what do I know?
It had 5 rows of teeth. Now a shark, pan over here, Steve, if you would. A shark has quite a few rows of teeth.
And a plesiosaur doesn't.
Here is a shark's jaw, and you can notice in the back all...
You know, we'll take a drink for him getting it right that sharks have lots of rows of teeth. Okay, there we go.
All these different rows of teeth, immature teeth that are getting ready to flip up, or when the shark gets ready to bite something, he will puff up his jaws, so a bunch of these teeth dig in at the same time. Some have speculated that the creature may be in the shark family because of the extra rows of teeth. I don't know.
Okay, but Kent, if you're trying to argue that there are late surviving plesiosaurs, describing something that doesn't sound like a plesiosaur doesn't help. It's the same thing with, like, maybe the muscles bunched up on the back and then straightened out. It's like, well, you're not describing a plesiosaur then, man. You can't argue that plesiosaurs exist by giving accounts of things that definitely weren't plesiosaurs if they ever existed. Goop23 for $2 says, legs terminating in hooves like those of an AIG. I get it. I get that one. Nope. Technically not a bag of dicks, so we won't drink for it, but I see you there. I know what you're doing.
All I can do is speculate like everybody else and say there's something interesting over there. They describe the creature as having these 5 rows of teeth. Here's a picture of the one taken on the beach in Normandy, France in 1925. This appeared in Time magazine in 1934.
That's a whale.
Okay.
I mean, that's just a whale. I mean, look, you can see over where the person's standing. That looks like a fluke.
There's a person there?
Yeah, over on the far right, there's a person standing there. Or, well, crouching there.
Oh, I see. They blend into the background really.
Yeah, they do, but you can see,
Except for
like...
their boot and hat.
Yeah, the boot and
Boots
hats
and
are
hat.
what give it away. And you can see, like, the shadow on, like, their back and pants. It helps define their pose. Yeah.
These pictures are really bad.
They really, really are.
5-foot creature washed up on the beach in Normandy, France, 1934. 2 professors from Paris Natural History Museum analyzed the creature and said it was definitely not a whale, not a sea cow.
I mean, that's great for them. It looks like a whale from this picture, and I have no idea who these people are, nor do I have access to their study. So far, I'm still going with, yeah, that's a whale. I mean, I guess it could be a sea cow. I don't know if those lived in the right area and were still alive at the time. I don't know enough about sea cows to say.
It doesn't look like a dinosaur.
That's true. It does not look like a dinosaur. It looks also not like a plesiosaur.
It's possible we are in the presence of an unknown species, is what they said. There's a man standing there for scale. You can see the size of this creature next to whatever, man next to whatever this creature was. Down in Brazil in 1905, this creature was seen by some scientists on board a ship
That's not a photograph. It's also not a plesiosaur.
called Valhalla. Cruising off the coast of Brazil, they spotted a dorsal fin 6 feet long, 2 feet high, and a small head on a neck about 7 or 8 feet long in front of the fin. The creature's color was mainly dark brown, turning white on the underside, and a good-sized body could be seen under the water.
Kind of looks like a vague report of an oarfish. If you guys don't know what oarfish are, you should totally Google those because they're super cool.
The observers were two experienced British naturalists, and they published their story in a book called The Proceedings.
Goop23 attempted to send the AIG as a bag of dicks emoji and then said, "Drink for me, boy." You know what? Because you attempted to send the AIG as a bag of dicks emoji, we will take a drink. Thank you very much, Goop2. And let's do a check. How close are we to both feeders and a tutu? $51. We could totally do that.
That could happen.
Back in 1905. Down by New Zealand, Japanese fishing boat pulled this creature up in 1977. They said it was 32 feet long, weighed 4,000 pounds. They were dragging their net 900 feet down because right off the coast of New Zealand is a place called the Chatham Rise.
Man, I've covered this thing more times than I can count. That, my friends, is a basking shark. It had no bones, and it looks like it has a long neck with a little head at the end. That is, in fact, what happens when a shark rots, because what happens is that the connective tissue keeping the jaw attached to the rest of the cranium decays away and drops off, leaving the rest of the body looking like it has a long neck. It's just a basking shark. Also, Dr. Tapioca Weasel has just gifted 5 more memberships to the channel, and they went to Whisper's Days, Vesta Freya, Marianne the Night Owl, The Fallen, Dustin Carroll, and April Van Ryn. Thank you very much. Let's take a drink for each of those. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Thank you very much. Which actually now puts us only 26 away.
Where the Japanese do a lot of fishing because the water is only 900 feet deep, which sounds deep, I know, but compared to the rest of the ocean, which is 12,000 feet deep, this is not much.
Okay, that's technically true. We'll take a drink. Good job, Kent. 900 feet is pretty shallow for the ocean. Got it.
They said the creature was rotting and it stunk and it smelled terrible, so they
Sounds like a rotting basking shark.
threw it back. But they did take quite a few photos of it, and they saved some of the tissue. When they picked it up with the net and tried to set it down, it broke in half, and white pus oozed out everywhere.
Gross.
So it had been dead for some time, maybe even more than a week. It had been dead. The zoologist on board the ship, and this was a giant fishing boat, the zoologist on board drew this sketch and said that's what it looked like. 4 flippers, long neck, long tail.
That's literally a sketch of why it's a basking shark. I've looked at this Zuiyo-maru evidence before. That's literally the basking shark. Like, look at it. You can see how, like, its little quote-unquote limbs don't actually have the real bone arrangement of, an actual tetrapod. That's because they're rotting shark fins. They don't have the right bones. It's a basking shark. Oh my goodness. Whisper's Days for $2 says, Godzilla, more alcohol for the dino. Thank you very much. I will take a drink. All right. Here we go. Let's just... Kent.
With all the Japanese writing on there. They made a special stamp for Japanese mail that year, 1977. They said it's the greatest find in 100 years of Japanese science.
No, Kent. That was part of a series of paleontology stamps, just celebrating paleontology stuff. That happens all the time, right? Like, every year, post offices around the world put out several commemorative stamp collections. Why? Because it makes money. I don't know how the post office works in all countries, but I know that in the United States, it's actually mostly derived off of the profits it itself makes from charging for services, right? The US Post Office is a government agency, but it gets very little of its operational budget from taxes. It's almost all covered by the sale of things like stamps, package delivery, things like that, right? And one of the things they do is they make commemorative stamps. Sure, you can use them, but they're supposed to be like, for just for collecting. Strawberry Arty official bootleg edition for $2 says drink wench, drink wench, but also there's two weird object things in the front. I don't know what those are supposed to be, but it's not one of the emojis, nor is it AIG as a bag of dicks, so I don't know. I don't think I technically can.
I can.
All right. So yeah, this has nothing to do with the basking shark corpse.
And that's a commemorative stamp. Now, the shark, or the tissue that was kept was analyzed, and they did a protein analysis. And they said it was 96% similar to shark protein.
Shocking!
Wow. That's pretty close.
They found shark protein on the corpse of a basking shark. Who could have ever imagined that this might happen? Oh,
Thanks, science.
I just... goodness.
What's Kent's excuse?
And so some of the American skeptics said, see, it's not a dinosaur, or not a plesiosaur. And some people get after me for calling it a dinosaur because it's actually a marine reptile. Well, I understand, but look up any book on dinosaurs. You'll find plesiosaurs listed in there. Every kid thinks it's in the dinosaur family.
Okay, Kent, kids are dumb. No, okay, that's not fair, right? Kids aren't dumb. They're actually pretty smart. Kids are ignorant. That's what's actually happening.
They don't know better because they haven't learned yet.
But they said it's 96% similar to shark protein.
That's crazy.
And they said, see, it was just a basking shark.
Yeah, Kent, because one, that's how basking sharks look when they rot. And two, you found shark protein. What? Let's say it were a shark. What more evidence could you possibly want than what has already been provided? What could it take to convince Kent that this was in fact a shark? Like,
I don't know.
He showed pictures of what a shark looks like when it rots, and they found shark protein. Literally, that's it. That's all you need. Like, well, I guess that's a shark then. It's like, look, if you come, let's say you come home, right, and you find what looks like a dead crow in your driveway, and then for some reason you decide to have its blood tested, and it's like, well, it matches a crow pretty well. Ah, yes, but have you considered that actually it's an ancient Sumerian sky demon? I mean, probably not. No, they probably didn't consider that. Why would you think that?
I'd still call it a dinosaur, though.
Well, yes, it would actually be a dinosaur. That is an excellent point. For $5, Savage Chicxulub, the Seal of Physis Slayer, Cobra says, Kent Hovind, not knowing what a dinosaur is since 1953. Oh, it's so true. It's so true. Oh, we're close. 17.
The excuse they always give for these creatures is they say it's just a basking shark.
Kent.
It's not an excuse, Kent.
That's what you found.
That's just what it is.
Right? It's like, oh man, all these people at the grocery store, they always give the same excuse. This beef is just steer meat. Well, yeah, because that's what that is. What, I'll bet you think this corn on the cob grew on a stalk of grass, don't you? That's always the excuse you crazy evolutionists give. Like, yeah, it is, because, that's what that is. Fits of Rage for $2 says, 96% shark clearly means 4% dinosaur. Checkmate. I had not thought about it that way. That's an excellent point.
Which is a monstrous shark, and when it dies, they say the gills rot and fall off, the flippers fall apart, and it ends up looking like it has 4 flippers and a long neck, when actually that's just his spinal cord and the gills are gone.
Do you have a counter to this, Kent? Because that's entirely plausible. And again, I will remind you, shark protein. A Strawberry Artery official bootleg edition for $5 says, that was a Mothra and a Godzilla. I have no idea what happened to them. Thanks, YouTube. And also, we got a Godzilla in now, so we will drink for the previous Strawberry Super Chat and this one. So here's a drink for one of them. And here's a drink for the other one. I'm not going to sit here and stand on ceremony as to which one's which. which I was about to, probably because of the alcohol that's already happened. And Sean for $5 says, for the feathers that they made tickle the bag of the thing that is AIG. Nice. We'll take a drink for that one too. Awesome. All right, which only puts us $5 away.
That's so close.
I've read all that stuff. I've heard all that stuff many times. The people on board who had it said, look, we know what a basking shark is. It's not a basking shark.
I don't believe you because I've never seen anything indicating that any such statement came from them. And you didn't bother to cite a source where they said that, which, notice, he has been citing sources for a lot of his cryptozoology stuff. So whenever he doesn't cite a source, I don't think he has one. I think he just made it up. Which I don't always think of Kent Hovind, because normally he's just bad at citing sources, but sometimes he still says things that I've heard in sources before. But this one I've never heard in the source anywhere, and he doesn't have a source. So, and yeah, again, he can't really read, so, you know.
They also, when they analyzed the protein and found it's 96% similar to shark protein, I believe it's elasmatin or something like that, they said, see, it's just a shark. I want to hold it. First place, nobody's ever seen plesiosaur protein to know what it's supposed to look like.
And it's a reptile, though. Okay, we got a couple super chats. Bob Knob for $5 says, fork livers and a long neck would be a great band name. Yes, it would. David Hercules for $10 says, for basking feathers and a shark tutu. And that was also David Hercules' first chat, or super chat, sorry, on the channel. Thank you very much, David Hercules, and welcome to the group of people who have super chatted to this channel ever. It is a great group of people, in my opinion. Bitcourse, who's been a member for 6 months and is at the Tetrapod level, says, milestones every time. Godzilla, take a drink. Oh, yeah. Steve Reno for $2 says, open your heart to pelagic tunicate dappa. Never. But also sends a Mothra emoji, so we'll take a drink for that too. Thank you very much. And that means that officially we are doing feeders next time, and Bent? Tutu. Next week. Next week would normally be Matt with Maddie, but Maddie is going to be shifting that to the last Tuesday of the month, and so we're going to do a Kent with Bent that day instead of the other day. We'll talk more about that later.
Secondly, 96% similar means it's 4% different.
Kent, did you know that proteins degrade as things decay?
What?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
No.
Yeah, I know. And who knows how long that thing was dead for?
Thanks,
Also,
entropy.
when a corpse of a basking shark is just in the open ocean for days or weeks or whatever, there's this thing called contamination, which is really, really, really hard to avoid when it's just rotting in the open. So, yeah, you shouldn't expect to get a 100% match from a random corpse that's been floating in the wild in the open ocean for days. I'm sorry, that's just how it works.
4% of the DNA code is a lot of information.
First, it was a protein sequence, not the DNA code, which you cannot 100% infer from just proteins. But second, Kent, you're ignoring the much more likely possibility of degradation and contamination. You're just like, nope, what they got was 100% exactly what that thing had in life, which is extremely unlikely.
Humans and chimpanzees are supposed to be 99% similar.
98 point whatever, but sure.
But obviously humans and chimpanzees are extremely different. So the 4% doesn't impress me, because that's just a...
Okay, but Kent, in most proteins, humans and chimpanzees are identical. Right? In fact, humans have identical proteins to most primates overall. There's a minority of the proteins that are distinctive to humans. So if you tested many chimpanzee proteins, they would come back as 100% human. Right? That's, like, humans and chimpanzees are so similar at a protein level that when chimpanzees in veterinary care need blood transfusions, they use human blood. Like, this is very, very frustrating.
A cop-out to say, well, it's just a basking shark. I'm sorry, I just don't buy that. The people who had it in their hand said, no, it's not a basking shark. In Russia, what does that say in Russian across the top there, brother? Puzzle. Mystery? Puzzle of lake. Mystery of the lake. Okay. This article in Russia describes the animal that was seen in this lake that had a fin on its back.
So again, not a plesiosaur. Got it.
Interesting. What looked like a huge dinosaur washed up on the beach in Russia on the north coast in 1994. They said that
That's recent. You think
Should
we'll
have better cameras.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some better photographs. That'll be interesting. Of course, why do I get the feeling that it'll have just been tossed back into the sea with no actual evidence collected at all?
Right.
the creature was 39 feet long. Northern island of Japan has a creature like that. I just talked to a missionary over there.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just it. Someone reported a thing washed ashore in Russia this one time. Okay, cool.
Yesterday, a day before, recently here. I'm going to the central island of Japan, Tokyo area, in a couple months, and he's a missionary on the North Island. I forget the name of the island now, but he's going to do some checking on this creature, but hasn't been seen since '73. But there were rumors of this lake over there up in the mountains of a creature like the Loch Ness Monster.
How would the Loch Ness Monster, or anything like it, get to an upland lake in the volcanic mountains of Japan, Kent? Like, think it through, my guy. You could at least restrict this to the more plausible options like sea serpents, right? Who at least could exist. Shipfish for $2 says, can you expand on the chimp blood transfusions? Not really. So all I know is that I have read that basically chimpanzee and human blood proteins are similar enough, and in many cases identical enough, that a human chimp, you have to worry about blood types. But after you correct for blood types, that humans and that chimps can accept human blood. They might have to go with like O negative blood or something like that. I don't actually know. And if you find out that I am in fact misremembering, then please let me know about that. Because this is all off the cuff and with alcohol. So everything said at Kent with Ben should probably be taken with a little bit of a grain of salt. Bakery says, eels are not snakes, Kent. Yeah, that's true. They're definitely not. And yeah, people could well call eels sea serpents. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Here we go.
There's a lake in southern Japan on the South Island right there where they...
Wait, we have a Trojan source? Ooh. Oh, and the gay beat says, what about T-Rex to Velociraptor? That's like human to like platypus transfusion. The answer is just no. That's dumb. Let me know if we have a Trojan source, because I'm not going to check all of these random magazine sources. But if we do, please let me know.
Call the creature Issy. Nessie, Loch Ness Monster is called Nessie. This one's called Issy. There's a big lake over there, Lake Ikeda in Japan. China has one.
It's probably just King Ghidorah.
Some people said they saw one. They called it a USO, unidentified swimming object. The monster was golden yellow in color, had a long neck, beard, a horned head the size of a wash basin. Here again.
Sounds like people are taking local folklore of dragons and importing it into whatever they couldn't immediately identify in a lake. Because that sounds like a description of an East Asian dragon. So, yeah, especially the beard part. Which again, plesiosaurs are reptiles, probably didn't have beards. Savage Chicxulub, the Coelophysis Slayer Cobra, for $2 says, the islands have names, Kent. Yeah, but he's not going to learn to say them. No, that's beyond him. He can barely read.
And we have the report of the horns on the head. Nobody knows what it was. Reuters News Service reported in this lake in Sweden, there have been 450 people who claim they've seen this creature, a similar creature to Loch Ness Monster, in one of the lakes up there in Sweden. Canada has many lakes reporting creatures like this. Canada's Lake Monsters. We sell the book through our ministry here. Nessie's Canadian cousin. Scientists are believers. Down in southern British Columbia, just...
That does not look like any known animal from the fossil record, but okay.
North of Washington State is the town of Kelowna, which is right on a monstrous lake called Lake Okanagan.
Great name for a lake, by the way.
Lake Okanagan is 80 miles long. That's from here to what? Biloxi, Mississippi. Just about. 80 miles. Long lake. There's $1 million reward out if anybody can capture the Ogopogo.
I wonder if it's ever been collected. I'm going to go ahead and not even check and say that no, because if it had, I probably would have been in the news.
This plaque is up there about Ogopogo's home. Before the unimaginative, practical white man came, the fearsome lake monster, Nahatik, whatever, was well known to the primitive, superstitious Indians. His home was believed.
It's not a real drink trigger, but I'm just going to drink for casual racism. Thanks, Kent.
Believed to be a cave at Squally Point, and small animals were carried in the canoes to appease the serpent. Ogopogo still is seen each year now, but now by white men. The $1 million reward.
Oh, well, now that white men are seeing it, you know it must actually be real. Obviously. What, with their superior senses of reality and visual acuity. That's how you know.
Was quickly withdrawn for fear somebody would go out and try to kill it, you know. But at the end of my video number 3, I have interviews on there with people who claim they've seen the Ogopogo.
Cool. But we're going to call it here, guys, because we have been going for just under 2 hours. And so we're going to take a look at what's coming up next and then get out of here. And then, if you are a channel member or a patron, you can come by the Discord server and hang out as we watch a few episodes of Power Rangers in space. So, Bent, do you have anything coming up that you want to announce?
I'm going to be on Top Hats Off tomorrow for Power Rangers.
Yes,
and I'd
yes,
love to
you
see
are.
you there in the chat.
Also, we have a $10 donation to the GoFundMe from a Michael Vandegram. So we will take a drink for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, so Power Rangers Jungle Beasts will be tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on my other channel, Top Hats Off. Feel free to come by for that. It's usually a good time. I have fun with it. I think Bent has fun with it, mostly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's take a look at what's coming up. So, like I said, on we'll go chronologically. So, next this Thursday, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. We have the next 3 Ways to Lie About Human Evolution video coming out. This one is Are Neanderthals Apes? And that is with the late David Menton. So that'll be on the 10th of August. Then on the 12th of August, I am planning to have another Gish with Vish. I'll have to reconfirm with Vishanti because there was a reason that we didn't do one last week. I want to make sure that that's all been cleared up by then. And then next Tuesday, the 15th, we're going to be doing another Kent with Bent. Normally, like I said, this would be a Matt with Maddie, and we would have done a Kent with Bent on the 29th, but instead, we're swapping those because Maddie is running a 2-part RPG show over on Amateurish Productions on Twitch. So feel free to check that out. After, of course, you watch my show, obviously.
Right.
Obviously. But with that, though, thank you very much. We will be doing a 2-2 next week, and I will be making sure that the next video has feathers. Everybody, I hope to see all of you on Thursday. Have a great night. Stay safe out there.
So long.
Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Kent Hovind, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Elron Teller, Phil Havara, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostick Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabbity Babbity, Monkey They Them, Mrs. Speckcinder, Sphincter of Doom, and the Venerable Bede. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.